welcome back to another episode of Ask the Boss. This is episode 6. We're thrilled to have you join us, and I'm joined by special guest Chris Heighington. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Happy to be
here. Process usually is that we have obviously go out to our fan base and questions come in. So we've got a sheet of questions in here for us to ask each other. But what I will start with is you've just come back to the club. What is the role that you've come back, and what brought you back?
Yeah, I was out of the game. Obviously, I retired from footy in 2018 with the Knights, and I have a strength and conditioning background. So I did that for a few years, but missed the game of rugby league. And speaking to Sheensy and Benji and trying to get me back here and having fun at the moment. Just working with the New South Wales Cup and doing their strength and conditioning, a little bit assistant coach with Chops there. And then I'm full-time and help out with the NRL, which has been really enjoyable. And I see the club going forward in the next few years, and hopefully I'm a part of that.
So you've obviously been back at the club now for, best part of 4 months. What's different to the club that you left?
Obviously a crazy new facility, which is awesome. Makes it so much easier for the players to get ready for the game, and obviously a whole different lot of players. But the best thing is that everyone's buying into what we're trying to do here, and that's win footy games. And obviously I didn't get off to the best start so far, but I'm really confident that we can do well this season.
And you still live up on the Central Coast?
Yeah, still live up on the Central Coast. It'd be hard to get me out of there. I really enjoy the cafe vibe and not so many people around and the beaches. So, I'll do the commute every day, but that's okay.
How long is the commute?
An hour 15, but I leave really early in the morning, get a training session in myself, and then I've got to do State Cup in the afternoon. So I'm missing the traffic both ways.
Nice.
Yeah, you got me working.
What do you do outside of the role, given that you don't seem to have too much time?
Yeah, hang out with my kids.
How many kids?
I've got 2 kids, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old girl. And
both ball people this year?
What is it?
Both of them being ball boys?
Oh, ball boys.
Ball persons?
Yeah, so Rocco, he loves his footy, and he got the opportunity to be the ball boy. And he asked me a question. He goes, Dad, how many people do you reckon would want to do this job? I said, how many do you reckon? He goes, 20 million people. I said, well, you're one of them lucky kids, and he's real grateful to get the opportunity. He did the game against the Knights, and yeah, he loved it.
It is it's a bizarrely unique opportunity that I'm not sure, which I'm glad that Rocco does appreciate it, because it's a pretty special opportunity to run around, be close to the players, be inside that fence, whether at Leichhardt or Combank or Campbelltown, wherever it is. So it's a pretty rare opportunity.
Yeah, it is. And the trial game against Canberra, we played at Belmore there, and he was, I think, Toops went and scored in the corner, and Rocco put his hand out to high five him, but
nice.
He didn't see him, but it was on the screen. All his mates were showing him at school. But yeah, he's been loving it. And
then Toops was dropped the next week. Is that the reason?
Yeah. I showed Toops this. I said, don't do that again, Toops, mate.
So Fletcher, 6-year member. Fletcher, thanks very much for your commitment to the club. We spoke about, his question was, what drew you back to the West Tigers? We obviously spoke about that. You obviously, what do you do outside of your day-to-day role? You spend a lot of time with the family. You still surfing?
Yeah, I love surfing. It's just a way to, clear your head and get away from everything and try and do your best on a wave. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I've done it through all my footy career as well. I'd like to surf, just get away and have another, passion other than footy. And yeah, me young fellas like doing it, and my daughter likes going to the beach. So it's sort of like a family thing.
So given you've been in strength and conditioning, obviously a professional athlete for 15 years, when you first came in to first grade, 2003,
yep.
What has changed in regards to the level of commitment or the professionalism of the athlete or the high performance department from when you first started?
Yeah, I don't think that I could get through a pre-season now. There wasn't so much training, obviously. The guys are a lot bigger, stronger, faster now. 2003, we'd only train 3 or 4 days a week. But now it's just full on, they're pushing their bodies every day. And yeah, the difference is probably that, there's so much technology and sports science behind it now. And loading, and I know how much, how much weight goes through their left foot or their right foot. It's just quite phenomenal. And, probably makes a player play longer, obviously, because there's more science behind it. But, just how much goes into a pre-season and getting them ready to play round one is quite phenomenal.
Yep. Talk quickly about, obviously, last week's performance. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought we started a bit slow there, and our completion rates aren't going too good. I think we're at the bottom there. And I think if we pick the completions up and the unforced errors where you drop it without any contact on you, where we're not going good in that area. But, to not to win them 3 games, but to have the most offloads, have third most running meters. There's some really good signs, but we definitely need to pick our completions up against Canberra in the trial. I think we're around 82%, and the last 3 games are about 62%. So, just feel like we're a bit erratic at the moment, and we're probably trying a little bit too hard. But the positive coming out of the 3 games, we've been in all 3, and the effort's there. They're not giving up, and if they get a little bit more detail in their attack and completion rate, I'm sure we can win some more games.
So I was speaking to Chris Lawrence and Paddy Richards during Game 2 against Newcastle, and they were saying that they were always told, especially in that first 6 rounds, if you completed 80%, you'll win most of those games, which I think if you look across the first 3 rounds of NRL, those teams that have completed at that level or close there have won all their games, because teams are still experimenting a little bit with combinations. They are a little bit clunky. So how important is this week against Melbourne to complete at that 80%?
Yeah, it's huge. It's our goal is 80, 85%, and we've got to do that. It's non-negotiable. It's got to be done, and Chris and Paddy have knocked the nail on the head there. So I think the first 6 rounds, it's even more important. We've got a lot of new combinations, so we need as much ball as we can and do the best with it.
And Johnny Bateman obviously came back last week. What do you think of his performance?
Yeah, I thought he was good. He obviously didn't have much of a pre-season. Coming into a team, he didn't know many of the guys in the team, and he's just a footballer. He reminds me of an English hooligan. He'll put his head where people wouldn't put their foot, and he's a leader. He was grabbing, because I do the blue shirt, I was obviously on the field, and he was talking and communicating and wanted more out of his teammates. So he's definitely a keeper, and can't wait to see his next few rounds.
All right, well, next question's for you to ask me.
Oh, where's that? Oh, yeah, Corey, a 2-year member.
Thanks, Corey.
He's a 2-year member. When the season didn't get off to a great start, how do you find the balance between hitting the panic button and not changing anything, given the 4 months of pre-season training leading into this season?
Look, I think the whole club, there's no panic button being hit. We're 3 rounds into 27 rounds. It's a long season. The coaches no doubt speak to this a lot about trusting the process, believing in what we've done over the pre-season. You talked about the fact that completion rates aren't great at the moment, and errors I think have been 16, 17 and 12 or 13 last week. So I think there's certainly enough signs there to suggest that what we've done in the pre-season is putting us in the right direction. No one wants to lose games, and certainly losing those first 3 games was never planned and not acceptable, and is hurting the club. But we'll continue to trust the process, trust in the players, and believe in the players, which we absolutely do, and believe in the coaches to get the best out of the players.
Great answer. Heidi, 15-year member.
Oh no, keep going and asking questions if you want. Don't worry about the order.
Yeah, what are the clubs doing for fans out in the southwest?
It's a question that comes around a lot. And, the southwest is a hugely important area for this club and always has been. And I went to our community impact overview, of which we've gone out and done community engagements. We obviously had the Narellan town visit, I think back in January or February this year. We've been out there training. The whole organisation goes out there as a part of our strategic priorities once a month, and we all work out there once a month as a minimum. We've done holiday programs, community blitz, counselling, community activities, regional engagements, community blitz. I think we saw nearly 20,000 kids and visited well in excess of 93 schools. And we continue to support local charities out there. So we'll continue to focus out there. would be playing more games out there this year, as resolved by the board. Unfortunately, due to the Women's World Cup soccer, that hasn't been able to be achieved this year, but certainly as we move into 24 and beyond, we'll be playing more games out there. So we continue to focus out there, we continue to apply resource out there, and it's a huge part of what we're building for now and certainly for the long term. Do you mind if I ask you another question now, Chris? Nathan, 10-year member. So Nathan, thank you very much for your support. Chris, you spoke about before running the blue shirt. What does that actually entail?
Yeah, so it entails messaging. So the coach will give you a message to get out to the players. You got to do interchange and obviously give them water and Powerade. And it's really enjoyable. It's challenging at times because obviously they're not out there to make mistakes, and you got to take that message the coach has given to you and relay it to the player. And obviously the boys have been really good, but you got to find the right balance. You got to work out the player you're giving the message to and making sure he's not losing confidence in me telling him that, because the next play he might get the same opportunity and not ace the play. So it's a fine line, but really enjoying doing it. You cover a lot of running meters actually doing it. So, but it's next best thing to playing. You're right out there, and you can see everyone trying really hard and doing their greatest for the club.
So that's obviously a skill set that you possess to be able to actually understand what players and how you deliver that message and what manner to get the best result from that player. That's not going to come unless you actually understand the player and have worked with that player over the, especially over the last 4 months. Yeah,
so the last 4 or 5 months I've been working really hard and getting to know them and what motivates them, what they don't like hearing, and it's a tough job. It's a hard job, but that's something I really like doing. And over my footy career, I got to understand my teammates really well and know what motivated them. So it's been a working process, but it's on the right track at the moment.
Do you ever change the message, tone down the message, or beef up the message?
No, Benji's really clear and he doesn't change the way he presents a good message or a bad message. But he's given me some messages to individual players where they wouldn't like hearing it, but I might pull one of them aside and just not tell them in front of the group, or if I feel that one guy can take it and wants that feedback, I could say it in front of the group. But yeah, it's been a real good experience for myself, and still working a few things out, but really enjoying it.
And when you're out there, obviously amongst it all, do you actually come up with any messages yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I grab the middles. Usually after a stoppage, they've got like a 2-minute break to kick a goal or whatever. So I'll just try and get them to get some air in and there's no excuses. You've got to go again in 2 minutes and to keep working, keep going well. And I feel like the middles have been outstanding. The running meters, Clemmer and Steph and Fanor Pole have just been outstanding through the middle for us. So we completed 80% like we talked about before. We can do really well, but yeah, so I just like to answer your question. I just grab the middles and try and help them to get through the game, because it's a bit of a washing machine out there for the middle guys. They're having a lot of carries and making a lot of tackles.
Yeah. A question from John, who's a 3-year member. Given the focus around us being a development club, who are some of the young talent that you've seen coming through so far in the 4 months? And I know a lot of them did pre-season all the way up to Christmas with the senior boys.
Yeah, I really, Justin Matamua, coming out of the West system, I think he's only 18, 19. He's a lock forward. He's got really good passing game as well, and he trains really hard. He's real professional around the group. He's got a big future. I think he's played a couple of games last year. Yep. He's been going really good in State Cup as well. He played 80 minutes. He's got a really good motor. So really want to see him get a few more games this year, but he's definitely a player for the West Tigers' future. And Jareen Buller, fullback, he's been outstanding for us in New South Wales Cup. He scored an unbelievable try. I think it was round 1 where he stepped past a few. It reminded me back in my day.
Of yourself?
Yeah.
No, that's what I was listening to people in the crowd that day, and they thought it was actually really reflective of how you played.
Yeah, very similar styles.
Same athleticism.
Yeah, same speed. But he's got a big future at this club too, and he's carrying a little injury, so he was missing this week, which is unfortunate. But them two guys stick out for me.
fair to say that as you spend some time with Coe Cup and with the young kids coming through, that we are a development club and we're spending a lot of time and effort and money in development and pathways. That not only are we identifying young talent coming through, but we're also trying to take the coaching philosophies of our senior coaching squad and how Benj and Tim and Robbie and Dave Ferner operate and coach and some of their philosophies all the way through the grades. So when they come up through the grades, they actually come up ready for NRL.
Yeah, that's been obviously, like you mentioned, a real big focus for us to make sure we're getting the right messages back to the Pathways groups and New South Wales Cup or KO Cup, and I think it's working really well. There's a few guys out, like Brandon Wakeham, he was a late signing, but he's moved straight into that first grade team. So if he didn't know all the calls, he'd have a few steps back already. But he's been outstanding in understanding how we want to play and taking that into first grade.
A question from Penny, who's a 3-year member. You're a 2-time Premiership winner, one with the West Tigers in 2005 and one 11 years later with the Cronulla Sharks. Both were the first for the respective clubs' history. How are they different and how are they the same? Good question, Penny.
Great question. Obviously, 2005 was just put on my lap a little bit. I was only 23, 24 years old, 25 games into my career. And there was just a bunch of guys who come together really quickly. There was some really good senior players and some really good young players like Benji, Robbie, Liam Fulton, Bryce Gibbs. And then you had like Ben Gallier, Mark O'Neill, Scandalis, all them sort of guys. But we come together as one, and I think we got off to a really bad start where we might have won 2 out of 6 games. And then we went on a really good winning streak of 8 games, and it's built this crazy amount of confidence within the team. Then we went through the final series and we had to win all 3 finals games to play in the grand final. And it was just something which it wasn't actually a dream. It was like beyond a dream. My dream was just to play first grade, like 1 game, and then here I am playing in the grand final. Obviously, the interview wasn't too good after the game.
It's another question that Max has for you in a sec.
Should I answer it now?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah, so it was, I think I was 3 F words in 11 seconds. There was a few of us. But yeah, that didn't go down too well. But out of 4.5 million views, there was only 90 complaints via email. So not bad numbers.
Yep.
We're talking numbers.
Yep.
But we had Steve Noyce as the CEO at the time. He made me go and do a media course. I said, yeah, but how am I ever going to get that excited again, So, but yeah, it was something I've learned, and I still get it in the streets today about the interview. So something I could never live down. But yeah, I've grown bigger and stronger after it. And then obviously 11 years later, I've moved on from Tigers and went to Cronulla, where I had to develop my game and keep working on my game to stay playing in the NRL. So, and it was just the same sort of feeling. I couldn't believe I got 2 grand finals, and from the first for both clubs. Pretty crazy.
You spoke before, and this is obviously a question that we get quite a lot, and probably an obvious question and answer, but I'll ask you anyway because I think it, especially at the moment, reflects where we are. How important is just that win around the corner in regards to players building confidence?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Obviously, last 2 years haven't been great. We haven't won a heap of games, but I think if we start getting a few back-to-back wins, you can see the feeling of a win compared to a loss. Sometimes it's easier to lose a game. You've got to fight really hard to get a win, and everyone's got to be probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10. You can't have any 3s or 4s. Yep. Everyone's got to be, the whole 17 have got to have a good performance to get a win, and I think that's just around the corner, to be fair. I've seen them train for the last 5 months, and they're willing and able to do a good job against Melbourne on Friday. Oh, I've got a question for you. To your member. How are things progressing with the NRLW team?
Great question, Chris and Deborah. No, so we obviously have Tasha Gale. We've got Harvey Norman that are playing and currently in their season. The NRLW team at the moment, albeit we're all set up and ready to go from a coaching and systems perspective, we just aren't allowed to do anything really. So until the CBA's sorted out and we're allowed to officially go out and contract players, there's certainly meetings that have been taking place and have been for some time around the planning and execution. So we're ready to go, and we're excited to be a part of the NRLW this year, and it's a really big step for the club and an exciting one. But yeah, until the CBA is actually sorted, we can't do anything.
Good answer. This question from me now. It's obviously a lot of rumours getting about that you're standing down. You're obviously not. Is that correct?
No, that was an interesting one. It happened a couple of days ago. I'm not sure where it started, but I've been very clear, and I was clear with all the staff here and communicated to all the staff, because I don't know if people really understand when people make up rumours or suggest certain things on social media, that the actual flow on and what effect it has on many other people. So obviously I was concerned for, all the staff here that, with the uncertainty of what that rumour was creating. We've got, nearly 100 of our key partners that I know a lot of them were concerned about the messaging. And then we've got fans and members, and we've all got families as well. So absolutely not. I'm as committed today as I was the day that I started. So I'm not standing down. There's no intention to stand down. Where the rumour came from, I've got no idea, but it's not founded on anything that I've done or anyone else should have done. So, but it's a good question. And it's probably leads me to, back in 2003, again, I'm sure social media wasn't like it is today for you as a player. How do you find, and I know you spent some time reading some of the social media after the game last week and this week. Yeah. How do you find it, and were you shocked to see some of the things that are written?
Yeah, so I think back in 2003 there was no social media. So it's something that's come pretty quickly, and I think I was mentioning to Benj back in 2018 when I retired. I put an announcement out that I was retiring, and there was all these amazing messages, but there was 2 negative ones, but they just highlighted, like my eyes just made the writing bigger. It's hard to, I don't know if anyone, if it's just like me or if it's everyone, but I was 35, 35, pretty thick-skinned. But and to this day, I still feel that them 2 negative comments took over all them positive ones. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like it to go a bit old school, where you'd watch the footy at home on a Sunday arvo and you'd argue with your family about this guy or that guy, but it wouldn't go on to a public forum. It'd be just within the household or down the pub. But yeah, we got guys 19, 20-year-olds with brains aren't fully developed, and after they've done their best on a footy field, going back and going on Instagram or whatever it may be, and seeing negative comments, it can't be good for their performance the following week. They're leading into training, for the next game. So I just feel that we could sort of settle down on the social media negativity and try and get this team ready for the following week.
Yeah, and look, it's fair to say that the majority of social media that our media team and digital team do look at are quite positive and supportive, and people in the street are that. There's usually the loud minority that, as you said, with those 2 comments that you had back in 2018, that are the ones that, as a club, that we're always monitoring, and we can only encourage people to be, to your point, we all understand that there's passion involved in this game and with any sport, and we really love the passion and the opinions of all our fans, but, it does affect especially the younger boys, and can affect the younger boys in a way that I don't think people really appreciate.
Yeah, spot on, mate. That's great.
Some other questions came in. What is your favourite game against the Eels? That's from Peter, a 4-year member.
Well, it's hard to go. We used to play a lot on the Easter Monday. We had some outstanding battles, but the one what I feel was one of the best games was when Benji come up with that flick pass. I think it was 2009. Jared Hayne was in heap of form as well, and Benji flicked it out to Blakey Yates, who was playing wing at the time, and scored in the corner. So that was probably my highlight game versus Parramatta. But yeah, there's been plenty of battles on that Easter Monday, which is great to see.
We've obviously got Easter Monday coming up on round 6, I think, from memory. Huge game. It's one that we sort of look for in the calendar every year, and we're trying to make it a really iconic sporting event that everyone wants to be a part of. How important is it when you're out there to hear the crowd and to hear the support of the crowd, because we've obviously moved it away from Combank. It's at a completely neutral ground in Acor. We've been working with the venue for some time now to try and create the best fan experience. We've got free transport for those coming out to the game. We've got some food and beverage offers that we're working with the venue that will be announced in the coming weeks. We've got 15,000 flags or banners that we're giving away. There's a heap of other activations, including a great promotion around kids are free if they come with a paying adult. So I think there's a huge amount of work that we're doing in collaboration with the venue. But how important is it that we try and, fill that stadium with West Tigers fans?
Oh, it's huge. Obviously, the first 3 games, we've had packed houses. Obviously, one was at Belmore, but it was a great atmosphere as well as Leichhardt. People cheering, and the boys thrive off that. Without members and fans, and we're nothing. So I think it's so important to get out there on Easter Monday. I'm going to take my kids because they're free entry, so save me a couple of dollars, but. Get out there and support the West Tigers because we're giving it our all.
Another question from, I think, Jim, who's a 3-year member. They want me to ask about your business outside of this.
Yeah, so it's Chris Heighington Sports Performance. So, like I said earlier, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. So I started doing strength and conditioning to surfers. Got Molly Picklin. She's been doing my programs for about 6 years now. She's number 1 in the world on the girls' CT tour, WSL. So I still use Team Builder with her and still communicate and get her programs. Then I do little holiday footy clinics and academies, which is I've put a bit of a pause on because I'm here full time now. But I really enjoyed it. I was, through the holidays getting 80, 90 kids over the 2 days. So just trying to give back to things I've learnt throughout my footy career, and hopefully you can see some young kids coming through the Central Coast.
How important is it as an athlete? So I'm sure at 24, 25, your outlook on what post-football career looked like was very different to a 34-year-old Chris Heighington or 35-year-old Chris Heighington.
It's huge. I always try to better myself and keep studying, and it gave me a good stepping stone after you retire, it's a long time after you retire of life and supporting your family. So, so I'm lucky enough. I played long enough to do a fair bit of study and transfer into the real world quite easy.
Yeah, nice. A credit to you. The Storm game tonight, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm confident. Spewing I'm not there, but they've trained really well. It's a short week. We got what we needed to get out of the video sessions, and the boys are confident that if we can hold the ball and, like we mentioned, get them completion rates, that everything will fall into place. Adam obviously going to fullback, I think it's good move. But yeah, the boys have just got to go in with confidence that they can get the job done.
And we've got a couple of big events coming up for the club. We've got a networking breakfast out at Menangle, which is next Tuesday, which is going to be well attended and well received. And for any ticketing information, you can go to our website. And we've also got we do a lot in the heritage space. A lot of people don't know how much we actually do. We've got a heritage committee, which is really about that engagement with past players, not only at West Tigers, but also the 2 foundation clubs too. So for those people that have been in the Centre of Excellence, we've got obviously the Heroes Wall, which there's a heap of past greats that sit on that wall, and there's a heritage dinner coming up in April, which details again can be found on our website, where I think 13 of the members on that wall will be joining in a function for 250 people. So if you are keen, please go to our website, and tickets are available. But a pretty special event with some past greats of not only West Tigers, as I said, but also the foundation clubs.
Yeah, that's one not to miss. Some legends of the game, obviously walking through that wall there, and obviously the 2 foundation clubs in Western Balmain as well. So,
did you feel that? Because I know John Scandalis made the cut.
How did he make the wall?
Did you feel that you should have been there in front of John?
Scandal, he was a part of the first team to ever play. Can't bag him, but he's probably just snuck in there, I reckon.
As a past player, how and maybe we haven't done it as well as we are now, and we can openly admit that. But that engagement with past players, and I know next weekend we've got all those past players that reside north of the border going to the Broncos game, and Scando very kindly volunteered his time to escort them to the Caxton Hotel for food and drink and then across to the game. But we're also working on a 18-month plan where the engagement level will actually go through the roof, and we really want to be known as a club that for past players, they can be really proud to be a part of this heritage piece. And again, through the foundation and what we started sort of in 2018, a lot of that funding for these programs comes from the foundation, which is awesome.
You know, it's not the same unless everyone's involved who have past and present of this club. So it's
and you got Ben Galea and Chris Lawrence,
Dean Hallertau.
On it as well, and you know we've got Rick Wade representing from the board and Pat Richards. So there's some really key people and stakeholders that have all been a part of the history of the club. So I think it's going well. Anything else, Chris? Anything you want to ask about my superstitions, my beard, anything?
No, I like the beard.
Do you know I'm actually growing a beard? Because I am very superstitious. So I know it does have zero effect on the outcome of a game, but because the first 3 weeks without a beard haven't gone to plan, I decided this week to actually grow a beard. So
what if we go on an 8-game winning streak?
Well, the beard will stay. Exactly. It's the same colour. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. We love having you back at the club and being a part of what we're trying to build. And you're a gentleman, and I thank you for coming on. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to episode 6 of Ask the Boss. We appreciate everyone's support, and I look forward to, as does Chris and the rest of the whole organisation, seeing you out at Accor Stadium for Easter Monday and showing your stripes.